Sam Harris. Take off the goddamn rag and act like a person. Helen Keller was a person. How can you say that? You're not Helen Keller. I could be if they'd give me a chance. Ready to begin, cause I know where I've been. Revival is on my way. But it was love. And he loved me back. And I knew that it was pure, and it was good, and it was unspeakable. I took all the seconals with a giant glass of water and stared at myself in the mirror. Who could have what we have? I suspect very few. So I'll sleep with sweet dreams because I love you. I mean, seriously? I did everything but shoot fireworks out of my ass. Knock, knock. Who's there? Sam. Sam who? That's showbiz.
Welcome to Queerguru TV, Sam and Andrew. And congratulations on your doc, Ham. What's it? Ham, a Musical Memoir, which I totally love, if you saw my review.
Thank you.
And
yes.
It's start to go on two very important streaming platforms. Sam, as you made a point in your film of telling us that you have no humility, maybe I should ask Andrew the first question. Can you briefly describe Ham to those peeps out there who've not seen it yet?
Well, it's called Ham, a Musical Memoir, because it's Sam sharing stories from his life, from his childhood up until present day, with a musical flair. So it's a live stage show that we filmed, not unlike you've seen this summer with Hamilton and several other Broadway shows that are coming out to streaming platforms now.
Sam, making this was a very long process, starting your memoir up to the finished film. Can you talk us through that?
The book came out in 2014.
God.
Simon & Schuster was the publisher. And because I'm a theater person, rather than going into bookstores and doing readings, I did a tour of theaters where I was just reading pieces of the book. And then I brought my music director, who you saw in the film, Todd Schroeder. And so I would do a song here and a song there that sort of reflected a story. And as I was doing it, it started to develop more. And then when we were doing it in New York at 54 Below, a prominent club there, two Broadway producers approached me, both of whom I knew, and said, do you want to develop this into a real show, into a fully on, full-fledged musical? And I said, yes, of course. That's kind of what I had in the back of my mind. So then Todd and I live in Los Angeles, as does Todd. Todd and I went to back to New York, and developed it with Billy Porter, who directed the production in New York. And then we came and did it in Los Angeles. And another director, a brilliant man, Ken Sawyer. And we played it in New York and then Los Angeles. And then it came to filming it. And Andy and I had worked together on a couple of other projects, and I'm a big fan of his, and we really understand each other. And so I entrusted my baby to his very competent hands. And it was very important that this didn't just feel like an archive, just an archive of a show. We've all seen those. It was really important, and Andy knew this, that it had the feeling and form and rhythm of film.
Yeah. So Sam, why was it important for you to make this film anyway?
Well, I think the message is important and universal. I think it's something that I'm proud of and that we need. And also, the show is so hard, Roger. The show is so difficult to do.
It's exhausting to look at.
It's what?
It's exhausting just watching you do it.
I know, it's exhausting vocally, emotionally, physically, that I'm like, I can't do this. I cannot tour this. I can't do another long run of this. So I wanted to have it forever, and for people to be able to see and experience. And I feel really grateful and serendipitous that it's right now at this time.
So people of a certain age would remember you from your big breakthrough in 1984 on A Star Search, singing Judy Garland's classic gay anthem. But your film shows us you've got a very long and very successful career since then, literally covering the waterfront. Are there any particular highlights that you remember so fondly about your career?
I left home at 15 years old and just always really focused on what I loved. And I was lucky that I knew that. And then I found my tribe, in theater. And so I had been playing all kinds of nasty clubs and just sort of honing my craft. And then when I was 22, Star Search happened. So that kind of put me on the map, which led to, recording contracts and lots of touring and ultimately Broadway. And because it's always the theater for me. So highlights, certainly Star Search was very important in launching me. Highlights. I think the first time I played Carnegie Hall was a huge thing because I was very young and it was overwhelmingly extraordinary. It was sort of a you have arrived moment for me.
I'm not ignoring you, Andrew, but I just want to ask Sam this. I loved learning about your activism. You're not only a husband to Danny, you're also a father, but you wrote that wonderful song in response to Proposition 8, which was my recommendation. How important is being an out and proud member of our community to you?
It's everything. I'm old enough and was in the business at a time where, like my first record contract with Motown Records, the press were not allowed to ask me about my personal life. Meanwhile, I was slitting my wrists on stage every night and telling you everything about me and singing my heart out. But a huge part of my identity was a secret. And I went to award shows with a beard, and it was just the way it was.
Yeah.
Right. It was just the way it was. And in the film I have a suicide attempt when I'm 16 because I fell in love with a boy and I thought I will never be able to live this. I will never be able to openly have a loving relationship that I can share. Everything had to be a secret. And so when I finally could come out, and by the way, of course, everybody knew, the industry knew, whatever. I was singing Freaking Over the Rainbow.
Birds fly. If birds fly over the rainbow, then why? Oh, why? Shall I?
But when I was finally able to come out, it was vital to me to be a part of that activism. Oddly enough, before I was completely out, in 1985, I want to say it was the first AIDS Project Los Angeles event, which was huge. And Elizabeth Taylor was chairing it. And she called me. I'd never met her. She called me. I picked up the phone. She said, "This is Elizabeth Taylor." I said, "No, it's not." And I hung up the phone. And she called me back and asked me if I would perform in that first event. And I said, yes, of course. And I was the first person to say yes. People were actually saying no because they were afraid.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I'd love for Andy to speak because he's quite the activist himself. We are working on a project that's in development. We can't talk too much about it. That is very much about.
Sam, then let Andrew talk about the one you did work together on, which is the Stay Proud project.
Well, that's the one.
It is?
First, we did that, and now we have a bigger picture of what that is.
What's that about? What's it about, the Stay Proud project, then?
Andy?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, there was an op-ed that was written in a magazine in the United Kingdom by a young gay man about not necessarily feeling like young queer people need to know about our history. And when I read it, like many people, I was furious because I came of age in the 80s and the 90s when our community was going through so much. And even though I'm a little bit younger than a lot of people who sort of really experienced the AIDS crisis at that time, our lives have been filled with experiences that shape us in our community and our families. So I wanted to find a way to respond to that. So I went to Sam and we came up with the Stay Proud Project, which consisted of us interviewing people in Los Angeles and New York, because it came together very quickly, about multiple facets of the LGBTQ experience and who we are. So we put together short videos for Pride.
I didn't know any gay people or out people.
I always had a lot of female best friends that I just wanted to be near, and I wanted to spend all my time with them, and I didn't know that feeling was.
I didn't feel like my brother. I didn't feel like my dad.
It was a heavy burden to carry this huge secret.
I came out when I was 17 years old, and it was very difficult.
So let's lighten up a bit. Can you pretend that Sam isn't here and tell me, was he a joy or a pain in your ass when you were filming? Just pretend he's not here.
I would say it to his face either way.
All right.
No, I adore Sam, and I would say, like any creative relationship, we're not going to agree 100% of the time, but we're on the same page far more often than not.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons that we worked so well together, is that we share that vision. So no, he's a joy to work with because he gives me my space and I give him his space, and those things really mesh well together. So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
And in the few times that we really don't agree on something, Andy comes to that I'm right.
See, I knew that. So Sam, people will get very dizzy watching your film because we don't appreciate how much you've done so far and how varied, from writer, producer, director, mirror. And you've kept it up even since the film was finished, because this year you published your first piece of literary fiction, The Substance of All Things. So what's next for you that we should know about?
Well, I have to start a new book. The book just came out, The Substance of All Things. I'm so humbled by these reviews. And, it was 4 years in the making and writing, and it's time I have to start a new one. So I'm jotting down those ideas. It's so funny, Roger, I'll tell you something, because I've been doing this a long time, right? And when you're promoting a project and it's out there, and right now I have this film that's out there, and that, goes 6 years between the book and this, and then I put this book out that I took 4 years to write, and then someone says, what's next? And I'm like, I just want to be in this moment.
But you see, reading your resume, there's no gaps. So we know you're a workaholic. And I'm sure your husband wants to see another film beside Ham eventually.
It's true. He's
And
seen it a few.
and what's next for the film after these two streaming? Do you have an onward journey for it?
Well, I mean, those are the first two that we're saying out loud. We have some other things in the works, but the focus is on these two, first with Laemmle and then with BroadwayHD, and getting as many people to see it and enjoy it as possible. And then Plan B will come a little bit later. But right now, I think it's just such a joy, Roger, to be able to present this after all the incarnations, and to be able to say, this is it. And it's something that I think everyone involved in is really proud of, on lots of levels, you know?
So is part of Plan B Ham 2?
Which would be called Leftovers. Or Cheese. We'll call it Cheese.
So seriously, you really like this experience. Do you think you want to do another one?
Another live show of this magnitude? I don't know. It sounds exhausting right now. But, Roger,
You need a few more years. You'll do it probably in your 80s. Just collect some more stories. I want to see that. Yeah.
No, of course, there's always more to say, and there's always more to do. Will I do exactly like this kind of show? No, I think that I would do something different and new. But you know, my husband always says, if I want to know what's really going on with you, I'll come see one of your shows, because I am very, very private. As much as I easily talk to you right now, no, I'm pretty quiet in my life. But for some reason, when it comes to my craft and my writing, I do expose quite a bit. And it's so funny because some people will come up to me and say, and talk about some intimate moment in my life. And I'm like, how do you know this? Oh, they read a book that I wrote. I'm like, how do you know about that very intimate secret thing? Well, it was on page 237. So I will always continue.
That's nice to have that. It's been, we're going to remember details of the streaming things, but I want to tell you it's been a pleasure and a joy talking to you both. And we'll be here waiting for Ham 2, which I'm sure your husband wants you to make. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You walk through the storm, keep your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of life.